Hey, welcome to Tabletop Skirmish Games. I'm Lee, and in this video we'll be taking a look at the top 10 magic fighters for Warcry. The information in this video will be taken from the 4 Warcry supplement books, and I'll also be using some PDFs downloaded from the Warhammer community site. And now for this one, I'm just going to be looking for the Mystic rune mark. So that'll be this rune mark here, and that's all really I'm interested in. As long as I got the Mystic rune mark, and then I'm going to judge my favourite top 10 magic fighters based on the abilities. So I'll be looking at the ability and that Mystic rune mark, and then also the rule of cool. Is the model a cool looking model, and does it really fit in with the idea of a mystic or magic user? Let's get straight into it. At number 10, we've got the Handmaiden of the Thorn, and this one's 200 points, movement 10, toughness 3, and she can take 26 wounds. And this one's got the leader rune mark, the Mystic rune mark, and the mounted rune mark. So I thought this was really interesting to have a magic user that's riding some kind of beast. And the one weapon option here, and this is quite unique for a magic user. This one doesn't have that magic symbol. So we've got a different weapon. We've got the spear, and this is a range of 8, so up to 8 inches, 3 attacks, strength 3, dealing 2 to 4 on a crit. So it's really the ability that makes this one interesting. So let's take a look at that, and it's a quad called Life Surge. And with this ability, roll a number of dice equal to the value of this ability and add up the total. Then pick one visible friendly fighter within 9 inches of this fighter. Remove a number of damage points allocated to that fighter equal to the total rolled. So this is a really nice ability. You don't see this very often. You know, if you've got 5 or 6, you can roll 5 or 6 dice, potentially get 30 or 36, and then heal that many damage points to a fighter. So the potential is huge. The chances are it won't be that much, but still a really good ability. It's a quad though, so you've got to use it at the right time, but it's certainly a good option if you can get quad 6 or quad 5 and then really heal one of your more important, bigger fighters. Handmaiden of the Thorn was taken from the Cities of Sigmar, and this is a really interesting way to build a warband, and there's different cities that you can choose from for your warband, and this really decides narratively how, and also tactically, how you might want to play them on the battlefield. And so there's 7 separate mystic abilities for them, so you can choose whichever one you like and then match that to the magic user. Now I've also picked out 3 magic fighters all together, so we've got Handmaiden of the Thorn, we've just seen Sorceress and the Battle Mage, so you've got some nice choices. The Sorceress and Battle Mage are almost identical in their stats, but I've paired up some abilities with them that I think is quite good. The Sorcerer I think would be a good match for Golden Mist, and the Battle Mage, the Twin-Tailed Comet, one of my favourite abilities from the Cities of Sigmar. But I thought it was fair to just pick one from the Cities of Sigmar, and the Handmaiden of the Thorn really stood out to me. I like the idea that the weapon was different, mounted on this beast, and a great looking model as well. I think they look really awesome. So a really nice set and a great magic user to kick off our top 10. Number 9 takes us to the Grand Alliance of Death and the Guardian of Souls. Now this one's 220 points, pretty hefty amount there. We've got the leader rune mark, the mystic rune mark, and this one can fly. Movement is 5, toughness is 5, and can take 20 wounds. So this is a serious customer here with that 5 toughness. We've got 2 weapon options. The first one is the magic one, so this is what we expect really from any of the models with the mystic rune mark, and this is a minimum range of 3, maximum 7. Going to make 2 attacks, strength 3, dealing 3 to 6 on a crit. That's pretty standard stats. We're going to see this a lot as we go through the video. But if you get up close, we've also got the sword, range of 1, 2 attacks, strength 3, dealing 1 to 4 on a crit. And the ability for this one is pretty interesting. It's a triple called Unholy Light. And with this, we remove up to 1 damage point allocated to each friendly fighter within 6 inches of this fighter. Nice and simple ability, and I do like the real straightforward ones, just one sentence that sums it up and it makes sense. So this one, you want to get them in amongst a good number of those friendly fighters, and as long as they're within 6 inches of this fighter, they can just get 1 damage point back to them. And it's only a triple, so you could certainly imagine using this a few times during the battle. Now we're over to Destruction for number 8, and this is the Butcher. Now this is one I didn't even know had the Mystic rune mark. I hadn't even noticed that before, and I've been paying some attention to these because there's some great models. But the Butcher, 265 points. He's got movement 4, toughness 4, and he's got a huge amount of wounds at 40. He's got the leader rune mark, the brute rune mark, and the mystic rune mark. And he's got 2 weapon options. That first one is 3 to 7 range, 3 attack, strength 3, dealing 3 to 6. But if you get up close, he's got this big like hammer, range of 1, 3 attack, strength 5, dealing 3 to 6 on a crit. So he's got a little bit of range that can do some damage there, but if you get close, he can also make some serious attacks with that strength 5 as well. So this guy's not to be messed with, and he's got a really interesting double ability called Blood Gruel that certainly plays into the narrative of this warband. So here we add half the value of this ability, rounding up to the strength characteristics of the next attack action made by this fighter that has a range characteristic of 3 or more. So you can't use this on his close combat like mallet, but you can use it on that magic one. So having a ranged weapon here with potentially 6 strength is really nice, especially when you can consider he can deal 3 to 6 damage and there's 3 attacks. So I really like this guy, a really interesting character, great leader for a warband, and a great ability. Back to the Alliance of Death now, as we see our Necromancer from Legions of Nagash. And I'm going old school and sticking with Legions of Nagash here. He's 195 points, movement 4, toughness 4. He can take 25 wounds. He's got the leader rune mark and the mystic rune mark. Now his magic weapon is that range 3 to 7. Only 2 attacks, strength 3, dealing 3 to 6 on a crit. And if you get too close, he'll hit you with his stick. Range of 2, 3 attacks, strength 4, dealing 1 to 4 on a crit. So not too much to go on about there. The 25 wounds is good, and he's pretty rounded with his toughness and strength in close combat. But let's have a look at the ability, because this is a really interesting one. This is a triple called Necrotic Siphon. And here we pick a visible friendly fighter within 6 inches of this fighter. Then allocate a number of damage points to that fire equal to the value of the ability. Then you can remove a number of damage points from this fighter equal to double the value of this ability. So this is fantastic. You know, straight up, if you get, like, say, let's just keep it simple, a 6, then you can add a number of damage points to the fire equal to the value of that. So you can dish out 6 damage points straight away, but then you can recoup 12 of your own damage points. So I think this is fantastic. It's only a triple, so I think this is really good. I really like this one. A great character. I always planned on building him like Gargamel from the Smurfs and having the cat from Curse City as his sidekick, and then building some blue squigs, but I haven't got round to it yet. But I think that'd be really fun to do. Next up in number 6 spot is the Great Bray Shaman. So now we've moved over to Chaos, and this guy's going to cost you 195 points, movement 5. Those hooved legs are going to get him around a bit. He's got a toughness 4, can take 22 wounds. He's got the leader rune mark and the mystic rune mark. The same stats as the Necromancer, that 3 to 7, 2 attack, strength 3, 3 to 6 on a crit. And again, he's going to club you with his stick if you get too close to him. Range of 2, 3 attack, strength 3, dealing 1 to 4 on a crit. And then for his ability is a double called Devolve. So a double, you can use this a lot through a battle. Here we pick a visible enemy fighter within 6 inches of this fighter, and that fighter makes a bonus move action directly towards this fighter as if they were jumping a number of inches equal to the value of this ability. Now this is a really good one, and I've used this in a battle where I was going up against the Necromancer, actually the Legions of Nagash, and their goal was to get to the edge of the battlefield, and he could use this ability to pull them back. So as they were getting close to it, he pulled them back into the fray, and also pulled them towards him, but also towards some of the other tough characters from the warband who did the damage on them. So really nice ability. It's a double, and I really like this. This really stands out to me from some of the other abilities. This idea of just pulling the enemy towards you, I think is really cool. Sticking with Chaos, at number 5, we've got the Chaos Sorcerer Lord. And now this is low, 165 points. Got the leader rune mark, the mystic rune mark, a movement of 4, toughness 3, and they can take 20 wounds. We've got that same stat line for the magic ability, and then for the stick, the magic stuff is a range of 2, 3 attack, strength 3, dealing 1 to 4 on a crit. And then the ability here is another double. So I like having the doubles that you can use over and over again during the battle. And this is called Demonic Power. And here you pick a visible friendly fighter within 8 inches of this fighter. And until the end of the battle round, add 1 to both the strength and attacks characteristics of the next attack action made by that fighter that has a range characteristic of 3 or less. So that 8-inch range is really nice. You can keep the Chaos Sorcerer Lord a little bit back, and then he can help buff that forward attacking fighter, both on strength and attack characteristics, which is really nice. They can only use it on the next attack action though, and they have to be with a range characteristic of 3 or less, but that's fine. I think with a double you could certainly imagine using this almost every round potentially, and so you can really start to empower and build up those fighters. And if you've got some strong ones already with a good number of attacks, then this is only going to make them better. Still in chaos with number 4, the Luminate, and these are fantastic. The Cypher Lords are just great. All the original Warcry warbands were so good. I think they're just brilliant models, brilliant sculpts, and they've all got interesting abilities and stats too. And the Luminate comes in at 175 points, nice movement 5, toughness is pretty good at 4, and can take 15 wounds, so that's not too high. We've only got the Mystic rune mark here, so no leader rune mark. And then with the weapon, we've got a range of 2, making 5 attacks, strength 4, dealing 2 to 5 on a crit. So this weapon is pretty powerful. For a range 2 weapon, having those 5 attacks is nice, and the strength's okay, and the damage output really good. And this is a bit like the first model we saw at number 10, the Handmaiden. We haven't got like that mystic stat line for that other weapon, so it's simply this weapon that's range 2, but the ability has still got that magic intertwined in it, and it's a triple ability called Shadowy Recall. Here we pick a friendly fighter with a minion rune mark that is within 12 inches of this fighter. Remove that fighter from the battlefield, then immediately set them up anywhere on the battlefield within a number of inches of this fighter equal to the value of this ability. So this is a really nice one as well. You can really play around with your opponent here and really like get them off guard by putting one fighter on one side of the battlefield, this one on the other, and then drag them across. Even combining that with the different deployments, you can really have fun with this. So a really great ability. But this one had to share the limelight with the SLANN STARMASTER. So I'm doing a joint 4th place here because he's got the same ability, but it is called Lords of Space and Time here. And this is a great looking model. It just looks fantastic. 250 points, movement 4, toughness 4, 32 wounds. We've got leader rune mark, mystic rune mark, fly rune mark. And then the weapon is really interesting here as well. So we've got a weapon range of 12, 3 attacks, strength 4, dealing 3 to 6 on a crit. So that is not messing around. That's a really good stat line. He is expensive at 250 points, but a great looking model with some really interesting stats and a really nice ability. Now we're on to number 3, still in chaos. This is the Inferno Priest, and at 130 points you're going to get a movement 4, toughness 4, 15 wounds. We've got the Mystic rune mark, 2 weapon options, and so this is a little bit different than we normally see. The first one is this ranged weapon, this magic blast, which is 5-inch range, up to 5 inches, 2 attacks, strength 3, and you're going to deal 2 to 4 points of damage on that, 4 on a crit. And then you've got the 2-inch range weapon, so you can use the staff there, make 3 attacks with it at strength 4, and again deal 2 to 4 points of damage. But it's the ability I really like for this because it's got something interesting in it, these exploding 6s. So let's have a look at this quad called Engulf in Flames, and we pick a visible enemy fighter within 3 inches of this fighter and then roll 6 dice. For each 2+, allocate a number of damage points to that fighter equal to half the value of this ability, rounding up. But in addition, for each 6, you roll 1 extra dice as above, and so on. So if you keep rolling 6s, you can just keep piling up the damage points. So I think this is fantastic. There's a few little things going on how you work it out, but to start with, you can just roll 6 regardless of how much the value of the ability is. So that's really good. You're always going to roll 6 dice with it, and then you do want the high ability value though for it to pay off, because you can then put half that value in damage points each time you get a 2+, which is fantastic. And then get a 6, you can just keep on going. So I really like this ability. Now we're on to number 2 with the AETHERIC Navigator, and we've moved over to the Sentinels of Order now. And so this is 175 points, got a movement 3, got a toughness 4, and you're going to take 22 wounds here. We've got 2 weapon options, and I should do the rune marks first. We've got the leader rune mark and the mystic rune mark, and then 2 weapon options. The first one is a ranged weapon, and this is up to 8 inches, 3 attack, strength 4, dealing 1 to 4 on a crit. Then if you get close again, he can club them with all sorts of things he's got there, and this is a range of 1, 3 attacks, strength 4, dealing 2 to 4 on a crit. So a nice range weapon, not bad up close. But let's have a look at this quad ability, and this is called Aether Storm. And here we pick a visible enemy fighter anywhere on the battlefield and roll a number of dice equal to the value of this ability. For each 2+, allocate 3 damage points to that fighter. So I quite like this one. It doesn't seem as powerful as the previous fighter, but because you can pick a visible enemy fighter anywhere on the battlefield, I think that's where the power comes in for this ability. And so if you get 4 6s, you only have to roll a 2+ to allocate 3 damage points to that fighter. So potentially, you're going to be doing up to 18 points of damage. Realistically, I'd say around 12 points. So a really nice quad there. And he could take out a regular fighter or certainly do some serious damage to one of the tougher ones. Now we're on to number 1, and this is the AETHERIC Stone Mage. And I chose this one because the model just looks crazy good. It looks like the most magic, I think, out of all the models we've seen. Cross-legged, all zen, meditating, on some floating rocks. There's an awful lot going on here. We've got the big horns on the head. So yeah, this is a proper magical looking stone mage, and I think really fits the number 1 spot. So this is 195 points, got a movement 5, toughness 4, can take 20 wounds. We've got the fly rune mark, which you would expect floating on those rocks, the mystic rune mark, and the leader rune mark. Then we've got the 2 weapon options, the proper magic or stat line, 3 to 7 ranged, 2 attack strength 3, dealing 3 to 6. And then if you get close with 2 inches, you can use the staff to do 3 attacks, strength 3, dealing 1 to 4 on a crit. So not an awful lot of damage there. You really are relying on the ranged weapon. But let's have a look at this quad. This is called Gravitic Redirection. And here you allocate D3 damage points to all visible enemy fighters within 6 inches of this fighter. Roll for each fighter. So I really like that. That's a great way to get going with the ability. Then in addition, until the end of the battle round, halve the move characteristic of all fighters that are within 6 inches of this fighter when this fighter uses this ability. So I love the sound of this. The AETHERIC Stone Mage can just float in silently on the pile of rocks and then just dish out some punishment. But I like the idea of rolling 1 dice for each of the enemy fighters. So if you can get in amongst a good number of them, there's some potential here for a lot of damage. You're probably not going to take anyone out unless they've already sustained a few hits, but you are going to chip away at a lot of them. And then after the ability, you can just float off again. And then in addition to that, you're going to halve the move characteristic of all the fighters that are within 6 inches when that ability was used. So they're not going to be able to follow you. So you steam in, do a bit of damage, and then just slowly float away again. I think that's really fun and certainly suits the model. That concludes all the top 10, but I have to give a shout out to one of my favourite models from all of Warhammer, the Wurgog Prophet. I love this model, and he doesn't have the mystic rune mark, so doesn't really fall into it. But I think he deserves an honourable mention because it's just an awesome miniature. It looks fantastic. I love everything about it. Great fun to play. And yeah, just an awesome miniature. So he had to be mentioned here right at the end. But this was a tough one. There's a lot to choose from. I mean, with him then and another 10 that we've done, plus the 2 before, what's that, 13? Then there's another 16 here. So, there's a lot of magical fighters that we could have used in this video, but I'd love to know what you think. Is there any here that you think should have been included in the top 10, and who would you put in your number 1 top spot? So I'd love to know. Let me know in the comment section below. It'd be great to hear what you think. I hope you enjoyed the video, and look out for more of these top 10s coming soon. There's also a bunch of them on the channel already if you want to go and take a look at those now. I'd like to say a huge thank you to my Patreon supporters who make these daily videos possible, and if you're interested in joining the community, it'd be awesome to see you there, and I'll put a link for that in the description down below. But for now, thanks so much for watching. Please like if you like it, subscribe for more videos like this, and don't forget to hit the notification bell to join me next time on Tabletop Skirmish Games.